What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Behind Enemy Lines, a Texas A&M football podcast. We have one final preseason episode before we get into game action against UTSA and moving forward. So I had to bring out the big guns. If you guys cover or listen to any A&M coverage, read, write, any of that, you know who these people are here with me. Starting clockwise, I got Karels from 247 Sports, CBS Sports, Travis Brown from KBTX News, Alex Miller from the Bryan-College Station Eagle. These are my best buds on the pod, on the beat here, and I'm glad that they're joining me here. And Travis, tell everybody why you were late.
Why? Because I needed you to send me the code to the Zoom.
I don't know, boo him. We got to boo him now. I'm just kidding. Everybody was on time. Everything was great. But no, so with that being said, I kind of just want to jump right into it because we got a lot to talk about, a lot of things to discuss. And with that, I guess I'll start with Carter. Carter, you and I, film guys, are trying to put up the clips, trying to get some good information, some intel as much as we can. I just want to kind of give you the floor for a second and just talk about it. What have you seen from Marcel Reed? What have you seen from the quarterbacks in this offense? Where do you see the ceiling, and how do you feel entering week one?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Tony. Really appreciate it. Love chopping it up on the beat, so cool to be on here. As far as Marcel Reed goes, man, I mean, uh, entering this offseason, his first offseason as the guy and had a lot to prove and still has a lot to prove. I think, the big question was just how good can he be and can his downfield passing kind of take that next step? And all we've kind of heard throughout this preseason camp is just how many explosive plays there's been down the field. You talk about guys like Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver and Ashton Bethel Roman, an elevated receiver for to say the least compared to last season. And it just sounds like from everything that the chatter has been that this offense has looked really good in camp. I think you had a lot of pieces that could put Marcel in a great position to succeed when you bring back your seven best O linemen, when you bring back your four best running backs. And really, before Le'Veon Moss went down last year, this was a top 10 rushing offense in the country. So, it didn't feel like Marcel really needed to be a superhero this year for this offense to be good. But then you're just hearing about how this camp has gone and how, hey, Casey Concepcion, yeah, looks like a draft pick, looks like a guy who could be that bona fide number one receiver that this offense has been missing. Oh, Mario Craver, yeah, he can create separation. He's a really good route runner. He's really good down the field threat. And then Ashton Bethel Roman, a guy that can really take the top off of a defense. I just think you're seeing a different dynamic that this offense didn't have last year, where they really didn't have a lot of guys that could create separation and make plays down the field. So, so far so good, but obviously he's got to prove it come game time.
For sure. And speaking to that point, I wanted to ask you, Alex. Obviously, a lot of attention has been gone to Ashton Bethel Roman, a guy who a lot of people entering the season said, possibly a wide receiver three guy. Could it be Terry Bussey? But it's emerged as Ashton Bethel Roman being a legitimate piece of this guy, of this being the piece of the offense here. So, with that being said, what have you seen from him and what have you liked? And obviously, talking to coaches and players, there seems to be a lot of positive buzz about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just smooth, man. You go out to practice, you watch this guy run routes, and you're like, he's got it. Just the way that he moves is just different, and you can tell that he's a year older. Last year you watch him in practice, and you're like, okay, like a young kid, he's got potential, right? He's definitely got the genes. His dad was a 10-year veteran in the NFL, and his mom was track runner at LSU, right? Like it's in the blood, and he's showing why, right? And he's grown a little bit. He's finally in that spotlight, right? Like last year, he was on the scout team and he made the most of it. He was the offensive scout team MVP, right? But as we know, A&M's wide receiver room had a ton of attrition after the season ended. And once the clock turned to the spring, he was one of the guys that was going to be in contention for a spot. And kudos to Ashton. he's taken it and run with it, literally. He's the guy that they hope can be kind of a home run threat that they can hit downfield for a big play. And that's the kind of thing that A&M's kind of been missing. Last year Marcel hit Noah Thomas for that big catch against LSU, but there were seldom those big home run plays. Cyrus Allen had one against Florida. Theo had a couple of good catches downfield, but if he can really emerge as a legitimate downfield threat, that's a really good sign for the A&M offense. And hey, everybody's asking what kind of passer is Marcel Reed? Well, if you've got a guy that can make a play downfield, you're going to find out what kind of arm Marcel has at the same time. And so I think it could be a win-win for A&M. Now he's just got to go prove it on the field, right?
Right. And I wanted to bring a more holistic view to it when I asked you this question, Travis. Like, we know what Marcel Reed and obviously know what his impact on this offense is going to be. But when you look at a Colin Klein run offense, he talked about, at years being at 38% in the 12 personnel with two tight ends and just how deep this running back room is in this offensive line. But so do you think when you look at everything they did in the transfer portal entering year two, that this is an offense set up to be successful in a Colin Klein scheme?
Yeah, sorry. At first, I was just kind of caught off guard. I thought Alex was breaking down Ashton Bethel Roman on Dancing with the Stars with the way his body moved. Got me a little distracted there. No, I think this is exactly set up to what Colin Klein wants. He has a dual threat running quarterback. He has more tight ends than I think anyone has in the entire country, who can block, who can catch, who can run. They could run 31 personnel. They could run 41 personnel if they wanted to, with all of the tight end talent that they seem to have acquired, and just the diversity of the tight end talents from all over the country, from Sweden. I mean, it is just I'm very interested to see how the tight ends are implemented more differently in the second season under Colin Klein, and just that RPO game that he really liked to run up there in Kansas State, I think will be even more prevalent with Marcel Reed, with the running backs they have, with the wide receivers they have. The more that they can keep opposing defenses guessing on which point of attack the ball is going to come from, it's going to be an even more difficult challenge them, and I think that they're set up pretty well to make that work this year.
Yeah, and so obviously I think I totally agree with everything you guys are saying. There's a lot of question marks, but there seems to be some answers to those question marks on the offense side of the ball. But when you talk about a Mike Elko team, a Mike Elko program, Carter, it starts with the defense, right? It starts with the secondary finding their way. Mike Elko was very verbal about his displeasure with the way the secondary played last season, and they have to replace 3 top 100 picks at the defensive line, and linebacker looks to be solid and some familiar faces, but there are some question marks on that defense. And so from what you've seen thus far through 3 weeks of preseason camp, where is your estimation and how do you feel this defense is going to shake out this year?
Yeah, I just feel a lot more optimistic about the offense than I do the defense. I think with the defense, there's a lot to like as far as, hey, they brought back their entire back seven. They know that they had an issue last year and they're trying to address it, bringing in like Lyle Hemphill, Mike Elko being more involved, bringing some guys in from the transfer portal in the secondary. I think bringing Tyreek Chappelle back from injury is going to be a huge plus for this defense alone. But I still have questions. You really underachieved up front in the second half of last season, and you lost your 3 most talented guys up front. So as maybe a less talented group, how are you going to get the most out of them when you couldn't get the most out of a more talented group? And look, I think there's stuff to like in that group. I think Cassius Howell looks poised for a breakout season. I think that, a guy like Albert Regis is pretty solid. And I think, they got some guys in the transfer portal like Tyler Onyedum and TJ Searcy, that can, and Dayon Hayes that can be contributors. You talk about a guy like Marco Jones coming up the freshman ranks. Looks like he could have a big impact this season, but still a lot of just sort of potential versus proven, where you're still questioning, well, can they get the most out of them? In the secondary, right? You talk about the safety group. Like you like that they bring back everybody. You like that it's a more healthy group now after being kind of injury plagued last year. But they really struggled last year. They really struggled with tackling. They had a lot of coverage busts in the back end. So can they kind of fix those things? But look, I just think bringing back Will Lee, bringing back Tyreek Chappelle, addressing some of these issues, that will help, but still a lot of questions. Whereas you look at the offensive side and you're like, oh, they're bringing back all these key contributors and they added two proven starters at receiver and just not a lot of questions there as compared to the defense, I think.
For sure. And Alex, I wanted to pose this to you, kind of similarly off of what Carter says there. Where are you most confident this team is going to find that that footing or that ground where this is going to be their calling card on defense? And then conversely, where do you see the struggles come from? Are you right there with them saying, hey, this secondary could be good, or this defense line got question marks? Like, where do you fall on that scale?
I really like the linebacker group. We know what Torian York's capable of. Scooby Williams is healthy again. I don't even want to know what it's like to play on a torn meniscus for an entire football season. And I think that the depth of the linebacker group has really grown this offseason. I mean, you look at a guy like Jordan Lockhart, like the guy looks like Maui from Moana, right? He's huge. He's a freak. Um, yeah, I look at other guys. Like one of the first things that stood out to me in fall camp was Marcus Radcliffe looks like a different dude. The size growth that he had in the offseason, I think is going to help him on the field this fall. I agree with Carter though that the defensive line has a ton of potential, but there's a lot of question marks. Like they've got to have guys go out there and prove it, right? Like Cassius Howell, he's got a lot of potential, but he's still got to go prove to be that guy. On the other end, you got some other guys that, they're really hoping one or two of those guys will hit. Or maybe a guy like Marco Jones can be a really good contributor early. But there's a lot of question marks. And so, how well A&M is up front is going to be pivotal because what do we know about playing football in the SEC? You've got to win at the line of scrimmage. And if you can't win at the line of scrimmage, you can have a hard time winning football games. So I think a lot of it hinges on the defensive line. But to Carter's point too, I feel good. I feel pretty decent about their back seven. I'm really curious what bringing back Tyreek Chappelle is going to do for just the way that the system runs of the defense, because you look back at some of the comments that Mike Elko and Jay Bateman have made, and they make it seem like when they lost Chappelle, they had to change so much of their system, and it was just out of sorts that they couldn't really recover from it. So what is having a healthy Tyreek Chappelle, not to mention that they got a guy in Jordan Shaw that seems like he could be a pretty good, backup to rotate in there with him. So just what does that piece do for the rest of the secondary along with some of the other changes they've made this offseason? And, health is a huge deal, man. We know that, and A&M's had just a horrible run with injuries. And so is luck on their side this year, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, where they really need it to be.
Right. And so obviously, Travis, they had talked about personnel issues, but I want to talk about Mike Elko and his imprint. Obviously, a guy who has been here before as a defensive coordinator, a guy who ran defenses in Duke that were, successful in the ACC. And where do you see that stamp? He had talked about this offseason that he's going to have more concerted approach, put his finger on it a little bit more, let Jay Bateman do his thing, but he's going to have more of maybe a game day role or week to week role here. But so where do you see this defense kind of shaken out now that Mike Elko is going to kind of reel it in, take the reins in, and make sure at least the baseline, the floor, is going to be higher than it ever was last year?
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question in a second, but first, I didn't know I did not have a Moana reference on my bingo card today, and I'm delighted that was that square was hit. Also, wait, we're buddies, like you said, we hang out outside of the beat and everything, but this is the first time I'm getting to see a lot of these guys Zoom walls, and I want to ask Carter, who is signed on that ball, and how old were you when you got it? Was it like 2 years ago?
Well, before I answer that question, I have to admit I have not seen Moana, so I don't know if that's blasphemy, if that's like, wow, should he even still be on the show? But I did watch Coco recently, love that, but I
Mm.
still have to watch Moana. As far as the
Juan is
football,
good, Carter.
as far as the football goes, I have no idea who signed it. I think I got it as a kid.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I literally just like got it from I think some church thing as a kid, and I'm like, oh, I don't know who these names are, but here we are. Go Cowboys! So yeah,
It's just Mark Stepneski 4 times.
yeah.
Did somebody sign that A&M helmet though?
There were some on the A&M helmet, and I think Terrence Murphy's on there. I can't remember anyone else. So got that when I was a
Okay,
kid
sorry.
as well.
No,
I wanted to troll. See, now I've officially trolled all three of you because I trolled Alex twice.
Mm.
I trolled Carter, and now I'm trolling Tony, making him have to switch back and forth between all of the screens, being DJ back there. So my job is complete. But going back to your actual question, yeah, I think with Mike Elko being a little bit more involved, what you saw from him when he was the defensive coordinator here was just this heavy, intense focus on third down. They had these really just intricate and exotic third down looks that were really huge for the Aggies back in the day, and was really important to, especially like that 2000 run through the COVID season, developing some of these young guys too and putting them in positions where you have defensive ends, safeties blitzing from all different angles, defensive ends dropping out into coverage, like some crazy stuff. So I think with him having his fingerprints a little bit more on this, not to say that third downs weren't important, of course, last year, but you're probably going to see a little bit more of those really exotic looks, safeties, cornerbacks come from all different kinds of places. I would just be more interested in what the blitz game looks like. They were able to get to the quarterback a lot last year with just the front four, not necessarily bring him down, with maybe the ability, as he said, with the secondary to be a little bit more ingrained in the program, to have a little bit better communication, be able to play zone defense a little bit better. When you get a few more of those zone blitzes mixed in, that would really enhance this defense. I think the blitz game, the pressure game, is something that I'm going to be really looking for more, and how A&M is able to kind of maneuver in zone defense, because that's something they struggled with last year.
Yeah, and so I'm with you on that. And so I want to change the format just a little bit. So Carter, I'm going to put you on the spot here quick. I'm gonna say a sentence here, and I want you to give me the answer in a sentence or two. And I'm gonna this is obviously to Alex and Travis's benefit because they're gonna have a second to think about it. But Texas A&M football season 2025 is successful if
They win 9 games.
that's a success.
Hey, here, and can I explain it, or
Sure, of course, yeah.
Okay. Here's my thing. Everyone talks.
Wait, does that need explanation?
Well, here's the thing. These days, everyone only talks about the playoff, and if you don't make the playoff, it's a failure. Blah blah blah. My take: A&M has really struggled to get over that 8-4 hump. If they can get 9 wins, maybe you can make the playoff. But if not, at least you're building towards something, and you can say, hey, it's no longer an 8-4 program. I just think that 9-game threshold, it's not something they've done a lot over the last 20 years, 25 years, and so I think if they can get to that threshold they struggled to last year, it can inspire some optimism for the future. But I know people are all playoff or bust, so they make it 9-3 and don't make the playoff. Oh, it's a big failure. But I think that would be a nice milestone to get to for this program.
Let's make sure we clip it, Alex. Let them know that Carter's cool with missing the playoffs as long as they win 9 games. Though, just don't let that get around there. But all right, Alex, the floor is yours. 2025 season for A&M is a success if
The pass rush develops. That was something that A&M just struggled with last year, right? They got 3 draft picks on the line, and they just didn't produce at a high level down the stretch when they needed them to the most. And so if Cassius Howell can play to his potential that we think is capable of, if a guy on the other side like Dayon Hayes or TJ Searcy or Marco Jones proves that they can be a reliable contributor. If the middle guys can really get things going and stop the run pretty effectively, A&M's going to be able to answer some of those question marks on defense that makes them a more well-rounded unit as a team. And they're, like we've said before, a lot of potential, a lot of unknowns. They got to go prove it. A&M will have a successful season if these guys go out and prove it. They don't have to become top 10 draft picks. They just need to be guys that get the job done and are able to get some key sacks and plays and stops on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, stuff that you want to see from a team that is contending to be in the playoff, right? A&M wins 9 games, to Carter's point, or more if they're able to get those types of plays from these guys. I think that A&M's got a lot more answers at a lot of other positions, but that is a very critical position group. And it's a group that A&M has traditionally had a lot of success and production from, right? You go look back the last 10, 15 years, all the way back to a guy like DeMontre Moore, right? You got DeMontre Moore, Myles Garrett, Deshaun Hall, Justin Matabike, Michael Clements, DeMarvin Leal, Nick Scorton, right? There's a pedigree here. There's something to be said for that group that, like, A&M is known for good defensive line play. Who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to step up?
And Travis, so obviously we'll round it out here with you. You had the longest time to think about it, but they've also had 2 answers eaten up here. So A&M's 2025 season is successful if blank.
I'll just go over the Carter playbook and they make the playoffs. No, I'm just kidding. I think that it's so much. It's not even just A&M, and it's a little cliche, but they got to win the turnover battle. I mean, if you look, I looked at the last 4 years of teams that made the 12-team playoff or would have made the 12-team playoff. When you look at the quarterback play, I know everybody's saying it's all about Marcel and Marcel's improvement and what Marcel does out there. You can have quarterbacks that throw 60.8% or 77.4%, and they'd make the playoff field. They can go anywhere from 2,500 yards to 4,500 yards, and they make the field. They can throw, 15 touchdowns to 40 touchdowns, make the playoff field, but they have to throw 6 or less interceptions in the regular season. I mean, that's pretty much hard and fast for all the quarterbacks that made the playoff over the last 4 years. Now, A&M was pretty good at getting turnovers, especially interceptions last year, averaged 1.5 a game. They were in the top 15 there. But when you look at turnover margin last year, they were plus 0.3 per game last season, which ranked 47th. Like, not bad, but if they want to take that next step to the next level, they need to increase that turnover margin and especially protect the ball on the offensive side of the ball. Marcel Reed doesn't need to be elite. They have good running backs. They have a good offensive line. He needs to be, and I know everybody's going to like shriek and, clutch their pearls when I say this. He needs to be a game manager this season. He needs to be Kellen Mond. If he takes care of the ball, he throws it enough to get third down conversions and move the ball down the field systematically, that they're going to be successful. Now, if he's elite and he can make that jump, they're going to be even better. But to have success, a game manager is good enough. They just need to take care of the ball. I think that's the most important thing this season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And so we'll kind of do a real quick wrap up briefly here. You guys don't have to give record predictions. I know we all got angles and stuff that are coming out, so you don't have to do anything like that. But where do you think Carter this season, in a sentence or two, do you see this working out? I know you talked about what would be successful, but do you see this season considered being a success for A&M?
Like what would need to happen?
Yeah, like
Pretty
what?
much.
Like, I guess you don't. Without giving out a record, do you think A&M fans at the end of the year are going to come out of here saying like Elko's our guy, or maybe not? You know what I mean? Maybe Elko isn't our guy. Like, where do you think when we're sitting here, Jan 1, saying, "Man, this year was blank"?
Yeah, well, I think that last season had the potential to be that, wow, this is the start of something really special. But the end of last season left a real sour taste in the mouth. And so this is kind of that chance to maybe reclaim that, like, hey, this is the start of something. But they have to win those close games, I think. I think they let a couple games slip away. for various reasons. But if they could go into Baton Rouge, and I look at those three road games that they have, the three tough games: Notre Dame, LSU, and Texas. You do not have to win all of those games. You may not even have to win two of those games. But if you can win one of those games, you can put yourself not only in a position to make the playoff, but in a position to really kind of build some confidence in this program. You beat Notre Dame, a team that just made the national championship game. You beat LSU. It would be the first time since 1990 since they've won in Baton Rouge, and you beat Texas, which they hadn't won in Austin. They haven't played in Austin in quite a while, and certainly last year left a sour taste in the mouth. So you win one of those games, and it's like a huge accomplishment that they haven't achieved in quite some time. So to me, I feel like if they can win one of those games and kind of take care of business across the schedule with games like Mississippi State and Arkansas and Missouri, well, that's how you're going to get to 9 wins. But those are the kind of those 3 games I look at where, yeah, you don't have to win all of them, may not even have to win 2 of them, but you can just win one of them and take care of business, then hey, you're in a pretty good position.
I agree. I'm right there. So, Alex, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's say the line is 8.5 wins. We know, and you're not a betting man. Nobody here is betting men. With that being said, though, are you on the over 8.5? Are you under 8.5? Where do you think right now? Obviously, you have the right to change your opinion with anything that comes out.
Yeah, I think right now I'm right over it. I'm picking A&M to go 9-3. You look at what A&M's bringing back. This is a team that's capable of winning 9 games, and the schedule in some ways gets harder, but there's still a lot of question marks. Like Notre Dame's still got a quarterback competition unfolding. They lost a lot of guys from that team that went to the national championship game last year, right? I know everybody's high on DJ Lagway and Norris Sellers, but like South Carolina lost a lot from that team last year, and Lagway's been injury prone. He's got to prove that he can stay healthy. Auburn's got question marks, right? Is Jackson Arnold really the answer at quarterback? Now, we said that last year about Peyton Thorne, and he had a great game against A&M. Arch Manning's got the Manning name, but Arch will be the first one to tell you he's got to go out and prove it too. I think this is a pretty wide open schedule in league this year. It's anyone's to take. It was anyone's to take last year in a lot of ways, and A&M almost went and took it when nobody was expecting them to. And so I'm picking A&M to win 9 games. I think that Elko is determined to fix those problems on defense, and they've probably found enough answers to fix enough. We talk about the pass rush. We're going to see. But that offense also seems like it's going to take another step forward, and they've got depth that will really come into play. And so I'll say it. I'm going 9-3. Call me crazy, but that's where I'm landing.
So we're up against it here, but Travis, just quick, yes or no? Are you 9-3? Yes or no? And then I'll follow up.
I thought you were gonna like Matt Damon me here at the end of like Jimmy Kimmel Matt Damon me. Was 9-3? Yes or no? No. I don't hold me to that though, because I'm still gonna do my schedule breakdown later and haven't fully gone into it yet. But I think this is a team that has the highest ceiling of any A&M team that I've seen in a while preseason. The holes, the gaps, the question marks are a lot smaller than they have been in past years, and so they have the potential to be really successful. But if you see yes or 9-3, yes or no, that can go one way or the other.
Right.
So
I left a little bit of a cliffhanger for you to go one way or the other. But so that's all we have for time today. Like I said, I got Carter, Karels, Alex Miller, Travis Brown, 3 of the best on the beat. Some of the guys that welcome me with open arms. And A&M, if you're not reading them, you're not reading me. You're doing yourself a disservice, guys. I really appreciate your time today.